Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. Right, so in today's video we're going to be talking about Act 7.1 or Book 2, Chapter 1 or however they want to call it. Basically, yeah, Act 7.1. So, I'm going to give my most positive thoughts about it. I'm going to tell you the things that maybe I'm somewhat worried about. Definitely the things that I have heard people are annoyed about in Act 7. And obviously, after this video, I will start releasing guides for each and every single quest individually, as I did manage to explore the entire thing without using any items outside of energy refills. I didn't use boosts, revives, or health potions. And that also should be quite telling as to the difficulty change of the content compared to Act 6 and how it definitely has been reduced, and obviously that leaves us with several different implications as well. So first thing that I have to mention, we're gonna start about the structure of the quest. So we have 6 quests with 6 paths each, with 6 fights on each path, and then a boss fight. And I much prefer this kind of like set structure because at any given time as I was working through Act 7, I knew exactly where I'm at, I knew exactly how many lanes I have yet to do, and it felt kind of like reassuring and comforting that you know exactly the number of fights, you can easily calculate that, and you know exactly how many paths, and you can also calculate thereabouts how much time it will take, and it is significantly smaller time investment than 6.4 or 6.3 was, so I'm super happy about that. In addition, there's another benefit from having only 6 fights on the lane, and that is when you get stuck. Like in Act 6.3, let's say when we have like 10, 12 fights on a path already, and you're in a path on, and you're in a fight 10, and you get stuck because you haven't brought in a proper counter or something isn't working out, you will not back out. You will start throwing units, revives, and items at the problem because you have spent last 40-50 minutes trying to clear that path and you're so close to finishing, and vast majority of the people under those conditions will just kind of decide to push through. And in here it's a lot easier to decide that, you know, no, either I played bad or I didn't bring in the right champions. I can just back out, because if you have done only 4 fights and 2 are remaining, it's not a big deal. You can go and get the 2 fights done once again. And I much enjoy this kind of like more structured. It's easier to see it in your own head exactly where you're at. And yeah, I do like that. I do hope they stick to the format and they keep on it. Also, the fact that you can change out the champion for a boss fight was really reassuring. For vast majority of the times, I didn't even check who the boss was, and I didn't even check whether I have proper counters. And then I just, if I needed something, I just added at the end. And it again seems like such a significant quality of life change that I'm happy they added it. It definitely makes countering bosses a lot easier. And another great bonus for the way it works this time, where you can swap out a nearly KO'd champion and bring in somebody with full health, can effectively save you a ton of potions as well. And that is an awesome change, and I hope to see it in every kind of like bigger piece of content, because it's significant quality of life improvement in my opinion. So there is that. Right, overall now about nodes themselves, and we did see a lot of annoying nodes, but in this time, typically as we saw something annoying, we also saw nodes that let us increase our damage or let us completely offset the most annoying aspects of it. And therefore, the result of all of it was significantly easier, quicker, and more enjoyable piece of content. There are tons of very wacky interactions and some crazy damage output results. And like for instance here, can't stop, won't stop effectively is made irrelevant as long as you're using mystic champions, because every time you knock opponent down, you have a chance to go unstoppable, and it's great. And in addition to that, you have fight or flight, and you can actually use that unstoppable to bring in literally any champion and do reasonably well. So the entire act, well, entire chapter and act feels like extremely open, like you didn't really need to have that specific champion to do well somewhere. Like in here, can't stop, won't stop originally is very specific node where only, let's say, a handful of champions could do it. And if this was in 6.4, that would be pretty much the end of it. But in this case, we have Muscle Wizard, which lets any Mystic champion do it, as well as any champion that has access to Unstoppable. And then addition to that, we have Fight or Flight, which gives you even more chance to go Unstoppable, so you can quite literally use any given champion in a game, and you have artificial means of getting that Unstoppable, therefore you do not feel penalized for not having a specific champion or two. And I like that, and that extended in many different lanes where we had a lot of damage increasing kind of like lanes. Now we have Pleasure to Burn, where you only deal damage if opponent's incinerated, but then you have Got a Light, where any champion can incinerate the opponents, so that makes it easier. And yeah, overall, I definitely did enjoy the design. I definitely enjoyed all of those stun, vulnerability, invade, and etc. nodes that increase your damage output, therefore it sped up the entire exploration process, and obviously made plenty of the fights quicker, to a point where there are lanes where there is no artificial damage increase, and they felt a bit of a slugfest. Not because they were, not because there was anything wrong with them, just because as I was exploring this piece of content, I was kind of getting spoiled a bit with crazy damage numbers, and if the nodes didn't provide them for me, I was like, man, this sucks, this is not as fun as the lane before or next lane is gonna be. But yeah, overall, definitely significant improvement over Act 6. This is the type of content where I actually look forward to testing and trying to find interesting interactions. In this type of content, I can easily see myself trying to bring in any future additions in the contest, and even at rank 3 trying to give it a go. For that crazy gimme path, I used rank 3 Immortal Hulk for it, just because he can ignore Spectre, and he was doing absolutely fantastic there. And with all of this damage bonus nodes, you can definitely kind of like try your luck with under-ranked champions and see how they work. And if you do have decent roster, there will be plenty of places where you can use those champions. One of the trickier things about Act 6 is, even whenever a new champion comes into the game, out of every single path or fight that's available in Act 6, you can only find a handful where you can bring in any given random champion. Like, I don't know, Immortal Hulk gets released, and you need to specifically go look for the weakest, the easiest paths in Act 6, typically where he actually can be tested. And then any kind of like path that gets somewhat trickier just has no chance, you can die. And Act 7 doesn't feel like that. Act 7 doesn't feel like it has that gotcha moment at you. In Act 6, how many times I myself started doing a path and realized midway through it that there is one specific additional node on one specific matchup which is going to be very troublesome, very hard to do, and by habit I kind of like started checking every single node on the opponent and the mini bosses and whatever. And Act 7 I didn't feel like that. I didn't feel like Kabam is out to get me. I thought that Kabam put fun first before kind of like insane level of difficulty. I felt like Kabam isn't sneaking up behind me and trying to, I don't know, cut a hole in my revive pouch and steal all my revives. I felt as I was genuinely enjoying the experience that has been well tailor-made for admittedly larger accounts, because again, if you have the 6-star champions, you get those additional boosts and benefits. But still, I felt as if though I'm having fun. That was the main thing, and it's so much more enjoyable than Act 6. Also, we have to talk about Act 7, buff the 6-star champions via Star Power, where 6-star champions get attack rating by 700%, 700 increase. Then we have Adrenaline Rush, Hold the Line, and yeah, these nodes basically that kind of like favor 6-star champions. And even you do have to say that it definitely does feel better and more reassuring to use 6-star champions in this piece of content. 5-star champions are still very much so relevant. I used a lot of 5-stars in addition to my 6-stars myself. And for instance, again, I have recently taken my Ghost to rank 2 as a 6-star champion, but my Ghost is very low Sig level, at Sig 20. And my 5-star Ghost is max Sig. And using 5-star Ghost was so much better, so much easier than a low sig 6-star rank 2 ghost, because I got so much more power, and in most of these matchups it really did count for it. Like we had the Tranquility where I lose all of my power, and with 6-star I just couldn't quite often even build to level 2 before I lost all of it, so the fights were really a lot longer. And then we had the Encroaching Stance and just many different nodes, Static Blast for instance, where 5-star Sig 200 Ghost, even though yes she had somewhat smaller damage numbers, definitely performed significantly better than a 6-star rank 2 did. So I do want to keep that in mind. I myself was somewhat prepared to bury 5-star champions, partially due to this piece of content, but this kind of like reminded me how important are those signature abilities, and that 5-star champions definitely still have very, very solid place in this piece of content, and plenty of others by extension of it, largely because yes, 6-star signature stones are pretty much impossible to get, and high sig 5-star will still quite often be better option than a 6-star rank 2 and possibly in 6-star rank 3, just purely based on how powerful some of those signature abilities are. So yes, that is definitely another thing that I wanted to put out there. Overall, there aren't too many things that I didn't like about it. I didn't encounter anything that made me feel slighted. I didn't encounter any like real trickery, which we had in past with your Do You Bleed Rogues and Acid Wash Mysterios and stuff like that. Even here we did have a boss with Caustic Temper, but we had additional node that provided Fury buffs for just striking the opponent, so any poison immune champion was an answer for that. So overall there's definitely a significantly different feel to this entire thing, and yeah, I wanted to say good job to Kabam. It's definitely a very good piece of content. I'm glad they took their time with it. I'm glad they reworked it completely. And I personally had a very, very great experience. As I mentioned, I didn't use any potions, boosts, or revives, or anything to explore it, aside from energy refills, quite obviously. And I am definitely looking forward to the next one. I also think that decreased length of it all, because it is significantly smaller piece of content than 6.3 or 6.4, because there are less fights and it felt a lot shorter. I hope it means that we can get 7.2 at like February, March. That would be so awesome. But other than that, I will be starting to do my quest breakdown starting from 7.11, and I will release one each and every single day, and I will start uploading these either today or tomorrow. So during the course of next week, all of the quest breakdown should be out there, and hopefully that helps you also to explore this thing without any items or as little items as possible. So that will pretty much do for now, and yeah, I'm gonna catch you guys soon. See ya.